ultimately there is an opportunity to reposition some of the product. And what I would say is, in our business, we focus on really sustainable office development. So we're at the prime end of creating that future office product that we believe is in demand at the moment. So we think that demand will increase as employers focus on sustainability and they focus on their workplace. Probably the office assets at risk are really that B grade type of office, which are the older office assets that could be repositioned. And so I think that definitely does bring about opportunity for us to focus on how do we refix or reposition those assets for the future and make them relevant for tomorrow. So that's definitely an area of focus of ours going forward.
Okay, another aspect of the way in which cities and communities change is the infrastructure spend. You've seen Joe Biden get up a $1 trillion infrastructure program in recent times. Australia has a $110 billion infrastructure pipeline. Is it a case where the projects that you develop, you're not directly in that space, but do you come along on the back of those infrastructure improvements as they come? Is this another way in which our cities are improved?
Yeah, definitely, Ross. You're always looking for a bit of a forward look to that infrastructure investment because it gives you a guide of where people may live in the future. And I think with the amount of rail investment, say, in Australia that's gone on over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, you can see those rail transport nodes being quite important hubs where really people could be living. It creates better efficiency for them to travel in and out back into the city. We see that workplaces want to be sort of connected to those rail nodes. So a lot of the projects we do focus on those transport hubs, all those innovation districts. So we are making sure we stay abreast of that investment in infrastructure because it's pretty critical on the types of projects we select as a company to go after to make sure we develop in those right locations.
You've worked around the world. Lendlease is obviously operating in many of the great cities of the world. Just tell me right now in Australia, the health of our cities, the shape of our cities coming out of the coronavirus, as livable cities, what are they like right now in comparison with the rest of the world?
Yeah, look, I think, Russ, one of the key things for us here in Australia is to really see that vaccination rate go up because I think that will give the confidence for governments to really see those cities reopen. And we've seen this across the world internationally, cities lock down and then take a while to come out. And the vaccination rate in that 70 to 80% has been the key indicator for the city life to return to some level of normality as we're starting to see people return and starting to use the place again as we'd expect. So, I think Australia is pretty well placed. When I moved back from Asia recently, it was great to see that, the vibrancy of Sydney had returned. I was quite surprised at the vibrancy of the city, but then we've gone into the lockdown, of course, as we'd seen the COVID cases spike back up. But I think the pleasing thing is to see the vaccination rates go up because I think that's going to make the differentiator to using the cities. I think Australia is very well placed globally because a lot of infrastructure investments being made across, Victoria, New South Wales, WA, Queensland and South Australia over the last probably 4 to 5 years. But I think they make the cities really work extra hard with the way we've really invested in transport infrastructure. So I think Australia is really well placed on a global stage when it comes to the investment that's being made in our cities.
And at the very high end, I know, say, for example, that you've developed the Barangaroo project. Have you been, even yourself, surprised by the demand at very high prices for some of these apartments that they've really gained through this period?
Yeah, look, I think the luxury market has been one of the markets that's held up very well through COVID. I think Australia is seen to be, a really great destination to live. And we've seen a lot of people take up the opportunity to acquire product here at Barangaroo. So I think people, and we've had different customers really go after those types of apartments. You're seeing customers who are downsizing and maybe lived in outer urban areas and are moving into the city because they see the lifestyle benefits from being closer and the amenity you get in living in a city. So a lot of people are making those choices to move closer to the city for those reasons because everything's at your fingertips when you do live in a city.